Hi, I'm here with Brent Barnes, the CEO of LBT Innovations, to discuss some of his leadership perspectives of the sector. Brent, what are some of your favourite aspects of being involved in the biotech sector?
Yeah, I think for me, fundamentally, this sector is about helping people, and whether it's a drug or a diagnostic device or whatever it might be, I think that's kind of every day I wake up anyway, knowing that something that we're doing is in some way going to help a patient somewhere around the world, which is really great. I worked with Cochlear for 11 years, and part of that opportunity I had was restoring hearing for those patients who are profoundly deaf. And I think really that's what energised my excitement for the sector and for the industry. And seeing an activation where a child or an adult even being able to hear for the first time is quite an emotional thing. Translating that into where I'm at now with LBT, we're in the diagnostic piece for pathology labs, and while there's a bit of a distance with respect to seeing that direct influence, we still very much know that if we're able to get results back to doctors to deliver patient care, that's also going to help people get better. And so, that's really my key motivating factor for why I really love the industry.
Okay. What are some of the most important traits a leader should have in the sector?
Yeah, one of the things about this technology in general is the amount of time it takes. So you've got to go through the clinical trials, and there's a high degree of complexity. And so I think given that these things are many years, I presented this morning and kind of told the LBT story about an 8-year journey from invention through to early commercialisation. So having that strategic long-term view, I think, is a really important attribute that leaders in the business should have.
What's the most challenging thing you've dealt with as a leader in the sector?
We're a small biotech company, market cap of about 30 million, and part of that is just managing capital and importantly raising money. And I think as a small micro cap company, that's something that keeps me up at night, and one that I think is a bit of a challenge.
Proud of achieving?
Look, I think if I can put it from a company perspective, when LBT received FDA clearance in 2016, that was on the back of many years of development and a fantastic milestone for the company. And it was part of a de novo submission, meaning there's no predicate that existed. And so really what that translates to, it's a global first, and we now have an approved indication for the use of our product in the US as a Class 2 medical device.
Who do you admire and why?
Yeah, I'll lead it back to my Cochlear days, and I was quite fortunate enough to work with 3 CEOs of Cochlear during my time of 11 years. So Chris Roberts being the first, then Chris Smith, and then Dick Howard, who's the current CEO of Cochlear. And when I was 4 years working in the US, Chris Smith was the president at that time, and so I worked with him in a bit of a different capacity. And then Dick Howard I worked for directly when he was running Asia Pacific. And the way that they were able to really provide some mentoring and guidance for me, I feel very fortunate being leaders of such a large business in Cochlear.
Piece of advice you've been given?
This whole thing about taking longer and costing more. Early on, I was told the advice, and I'm like, oh no, but in this case, it's going to be different. But really, it's true, and there are long lead times for this business, and you still need to have a cost base, you still need to have a schedule that you work through, but just acknowledging, having some of that buffer, and trying to be truly realistic as best that you can.
Well, thanks, Brent. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to provide some insights into your views on leadership. I really appreciate it. Thanks very much.
All right, cheers.